This is the story of a nightmare that unfolded in one of the safest neighborhoods in America, and the incredible girl who survived it. To understand how a 14-year-old could disappear from her bedroom in the middle of the night and remain hidden for 9 months just miles away, we have to look at the chilling precision of her captor and the psychological walls he built around her. On the night of June 4, 2002, the Smart family went to bed in their Federal Heights home in Salt Lake City, Utah. They lived in an affluent, tight-knit community where doors were often left unlocked. Elizabeth, 14, was sleeping in her bed, sharing a room with her 9-year-old sister, Mary Katherine. At approximately 3:30 a.m., a man named Brian David Mitchell, who had previously performed a day of labor for the family under the name Emmanuel, cut through a window screen and entered the bedroom. He approached Elizabeth's bed with a serrated knife. He threatened her, telling her that if she made a sound, he would kill her and her entire family. In an act of profound bravery and instinct, Mary Katherine pretended to be asleep, watching through narrowed eyes as a man in a tan jacket and a baseball cap led her sister out of the house into the darkness of the Utah foothills. While the largest search in Utah history was organized, with thousands of volunteers and the FBI flooding the streets, Elizabeth was being held at a crude campsite in Dry Creek Canyon, less than 5 miles from her front door. She was tethered to a tree by a heavy metal cable. Mitchell was joined by his wife, Wanda Barzee. Together, they subjected Elizabeth to a ritualistic cycle of abuse. Mitchell claimed to be a prophet and forced Elizabeth into a marriage ceremony. For the next several months, her life was defined by forced identity. She was renamed Shir Jashub and forced to wear white, flowing robes and heavy veils. The psychological cage, Mitchell didn't just use physical chains, he used religious terror. He convinced Elizabeth that he had eyes everywhere and that if she reached out to anyone, God would strike her family dead. The cold, as summer turned to the harsh Utah winter, they lived in a plastic-covered hole in the ground, surviving on scraps and stolen food. The most agonizing part of Elizabeth's story is how many times she was almost found. On one occasion, a police officer actually spoke to Mitchell and his wives in a public library. Because Elizabeth was draped in a heavy veil and Mitchell claimed she was his daughter following a strict religious code, the officer moved on. Meanwhile, the police investigation was stalled. They were hyper-focused on Richard Ricci, a handyman with a criminal record who had worked for the Smarts. Though Ricci maintained his innocence, he died in prison from a brain hemorrhage before he could be cleared. The focus on Ricci meant the police weren't looking for Emmanuel. In October 2002, Mary Katherine had a breakthrough. She realized the man she had seen that night was Emmanuel. The Smart family went to the media with this new lead, leading to a segment on America's Most Wanted. On March 12, 2003, 9 months after the abduction, several citizens in Sandy, Utah, spotted a man matching Mitchell's description walking down the street with 2 veiled women. Police intercepted them. When officers separated Elizabeth from Mitchell, she was initially too terrified to reveal her name. She had been brainwashed to believe that speaking would kill her parents. Finally, an officer looked at her and said, "I know who you are. Your family misses you." She whispered back, "I am Elizabeth Smart." The trial that followed was a media circus. Mitchell attempted to disrupt the proceedings by singing hymns and screaming prophecies in court. However, Elizabeth's testimony was unwavering. She sat just feet away from her captor and detailed every horror, reclaiming the power he had stolen from her. Mitchell was sentenced to life in prison, and Wanda Barzee was also sentenced to a lengthy term. Today, Elizabeth Smart is a celebrated advocate for missing persons and a mother of 3. She often speaks about the concept of reclaiming your life, proving that while her captors took 9 months of her childhood, they could not take her future.